At this time, I would like to ask Wayne Brown, pastor of the Haven Church, to come forward and lead us in our prayer, please.
Will you bow your head as I pray? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for your grace, your mercy, and your goodness. Thank you for being a wise and loving Father, one who cares about the city of Sherwood and the welfare of our people. We acknowledge that you are a Father of peace, order, and justice. We ask you to bless those who have been called to lead the community in which we live, work, and play. Keep in your protecting hand those who are called to serve and protect our city. Watch over our police force, fire department, paramedics, all our first responders, our local business owners, and our servicemen and women wherever they serve. I pray now for our mayor, city officials, the city council assembled tonight. As they work through their agenda, lead and guide them, grant them wisdom to deal with every issue or problem, that the very best may be given to our city. Father, your word encourages good citizenship. We are to submit to and trust our governing authorities. With this in mind, help our city council to not take this privilege lightly or for granted, but sincerely work together for the mutual benefit and success in our community. It is in your most blessed and holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brooks? Here. Harmon?
Here.
Lilly?
Here.
McMahon?
Here.
Aye. Here. Keplinger?
Here.
Sanders?
Here.
Williams? Here. Approval of minutes of the regular meeting on December 18, 2017 is transcribed.
So
Move for
moved.
adoption.
Second.
Williams? Aye. Harmon?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Keplinger?
Aye.
McMahon?
Aye.
Lilly?
Aye.
Sanders?
Aye.
Brooks? Aye. You have copies of the December 2017 financials, which are also the year ends. Are there any questions or comments or discussions on those?
On the minutes,
On the minutes for the financials?
the minutes, I'm sorry.
We've already moved on from those, but
Well, there was a misspelling. It had Rooks instead of Brooks, so I'm sorry.
no comments on the financials.
Is there a motion to waive the reading requirement?
So moved.
Second.
Let's see that.
Williams? Aye. Harmon?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Keplinger?
Aye.
McMahon?
Aye.
Lilly?
Aye.
Sanders?
Aye.
Brooks? Aye.
I'm going to read the next ordinance, the organizational ordinance, but then I'm going to need to ask for a couple of amendments. An ordinance readopting the existing rules of the Sherwood City Council and for other purposes. After the agenda had already gone out, we discovered that the copy of Ordinance 1976 that was attached for your review did not show the amendment of changing the meeting time from 7 to 6. And that's going to be corrected. And that's why you have the other ordinance that was handed out this evening. That's the ordinance where we actually did that, where that was passed for the change of the meeting. That being said, the amendments I need are in the second whereas it says in January 2015, that should read 2013 when that was adopted. Secondly, Section 1 is redundant given the fact that we have an ordinance that already changed the time. So the second request I would have is to strike Section 1 in its entirety and just make Section 2 Section 1. And I think that'll cover the issues.
So moved.
Second. Williams? Aye. Harmon?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Keplinger?
Aye.
McMahon?
Aye.
Lilly?
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
An ordinance readopting the existing rules of the Sherwood City Council and for other purposes as amended. That is the ordinance.
Move for the adoption of the ordinance.
Second. Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Keplinger.
Aye.
McMahon.
Aye.
Lilly.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye. Next item on the agenda is 2017 asset removal. You have quite a list of cleanup, and there's a lot of things that probably should have been removed 20 years ago plus. Are there any questions or comments, any concerns regarding those?
Is the list that's, we're voting on tonight, is that the same list you sent out via email a week or so back? Okay. No changes?
I just had one question, Mayor. I know that some of those items were sold, some of those were just trash because that's what it was. On those sold items, does that funds go back into that department, petty cash, or how does those funds it's nominal, but I was just asking how those were dispersed back.
They go back to a full asset
Okay,
account.
just that one. Not necessarily by the department.
Not distributed
Okay,
back.
thank you. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Or questions or comments?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Keplinger.
Aye.
McMahon.
Aye.
Lilly.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye. At this time, Sherwood Police Department has some presentations they would like to make. Come forward.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I'm Captain Kel Nicholson with the Sherwood Police Department. This is Chief Tim Bedwell. And tonight we'd like to recognize some of our officers. We have a yearly awards, and there's 4 employees that we want to recognize tonight. And one of those is going to be Calvin Webb for 2017 Civilian Employee of the Year. So Calvin, if you could come up. And Calvin's been with us since 2012. He works in Support Service Division. He does a lot of work behind the scenes. He helps us put people in jail. He preserves videos, and he works with judges and Steve Cobb, the prosecutor, our city attorney. He works with a lot of people to help us assure that some of our arrests, are documented properly. But anyway, I'd like to read just one little piece of it. He gets a letter and a plaque, but I'll just read a little part of his letter. During the last year, you consistently demonstrated a superior degree of enthusiasm, dedication, and devotion to duty as employee of the Sherwood Police Department. Your ability to get things done in a timely manner while maintaining high morale makes working with you a pleasure. You were always willing to go beyond what was expected. Your fellow officers and employees often spoke of your willingness to help at any time. And the chief would like to present you with this award. This award was voted on by members of the police department, so it's really special because it's not just picked by the chief and the upper admin, it's picked by the employees of the police department. Calvin, you're the 2017 Civilian Employee of the Year. And the next officer I'd like to recognize is Beth Johnson. Beth has been selected as the 2017 Dispatcher of the Year. Beth has been with the police department since 1999. She's one of our lead dispatchers. She also trains all the new dispatchers along with a couple of other FTO or field training officers. Does a great job. She's headed part of our new dispatching protocol methods and make sure that we get things done right. She's always really concerned about the safety of the officers, and if you call 911, there's a good chance that Beth is going to answer the call and help you take care of the problem. I'd like to read just a little bit of her letter. During the year, you've consistently performed your assigned duties in a diligent and professional manner. With 18 years of experience as a dispatcher for the Sherwood Police Department, you never hesitate to train, guide, and direct those with much less time and knowledge. It is a well-known fact that you deeply care for the safety of the officers of the Sherwood Police Department and the residents of Sherwood. So congratulations for dispatcher. Captain Hager has the two more.
Like I said, I'm Captain Jeff Hager, and there's a couple more that we're going to give. The first one, Carol Bowen, if you will, come forward. You know, the police department, we have people come up to us all the time, and they tell us, you know, thank you for what you do. We appreciate y'all for what you do. But I don't think sometimes we really recognize the fact, you know, like Captain Nicholson said about the people that they work here every day, they do a job, and they don't really get recognized as much as we do, because you see us, it's easy to pick us out with the uniform that we wear. But we have a lot of people that work behind the scenes, I guess you could say, that really help us do a lot. Carol's been a clerk here since 1990, and I can tell you I shared an office with her for a long time. I should get an award for that. But I tell you, Carol, like a lot of our clerks, she does a lot of things that people just don't realize. I mean, she's in some of the stuff that's written in this letter. She, besides her normal secretarial duties, she maintains all case files for the division, builds all felony case files that are filed to circuit court, maintains the sex offender registry. She's the Arkansas Crime Information Center compliance specialist for the police department. And what that means, the state system that we use, that we maintain all of our files on all offenders, whether it be traffic violations, whether it be warrants, all that stuff. She's the one that's the compliance specialist when we get audited by them, because there's rules we have to follow. She's the one that maintains that compliance checklist and make sure that we're always in compliance. And she really does a great job of doing that. And so I'm not going to read this entire letter, because I do want to say this. You know, of all the people that are here, and Carol's won this award several times, and as bad as it pains me to say it, we'd really be lost without her. So congratulations. The clerk of the year.
I think there's a lot that feels your pain.
All right, the officer of the year this year, Craig Grisham, if you will, come up. I am going to read his, because it's for the officer of the year. It talks a little bit about his career. He's been here since December of 1999, and Craig's been one of those guys that he has been. I don't think he's ever had this award, and you know, for a guy that's been here as long as Craig has, you know, it's kind of unusual that somebody, usually we're burnt out by the time we get to the point in a career that Craig is. But I tell you, Craig became a detective about a year and a half ago, I guess. And this guy, he spent years on the street wearing that uniform. And I tell you, if you've never done it, you just really can't appreciate what it's like to wear all that gear for as long as he did, getting in and out of that car and answering calls. He did that, and he did a great job at it. He was selected to come to the detective office, and since he's done that, I mean, he's done a great job. And I am going to read the citation that goes along with the letter. It says, the Sherwood Police Department strives to provide the citizens of the city of Sherwood with the most professional and trustworthy police department in the state of Arkansas. Each officer takes pride in keeping their community safe and as crime-free as possible. Although this is an impossible task, it is the duty and the desire of each officer of the Sherwood Police Department, and they take it very seriously. In 2017, there were many officers that did great things toward this endeavor, but one stood out in the crowd. This officer is assigned to the detective division and has been with the Sherwood Police Department since December of 1999. This detective, like everyone else, began his career in the patrol division and has also been assigned as a cops officer, a canine officer, and a field training officer. This detective has established a reputation of dependability and hard work, but most importantly, a reputation of compassion and dedication to those cases that he works, as well as the victims and even offenders that each of those cases represent. He is a veteran of the United States Army and volunteers his services and time to work with veterans and is always a staunch advocate for their service to our country. The actions and work ethic of this officer reflects very proudly on himself, the Sherwood Police Department, and the city of Sherwood. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2017 Sherwood Police Department Officer of the Year is Detective Craig Grisham.
Congratulations to all of you. We appreciate all that you do. Next on the agenda is committees and commissions, advertise and promotion commission.
We did meet, and the minutes are in the packet if anyone has any questions. I do want to report on the Trail of Lights. Before all the police officers leave, I just want to say thank you to all the police officers for all your work on the trail. I know the traffic headaches and all that were not great, but I do appreciate all the work the police did on the trail. Of course, Parks and Rec, City Clerk's Office, Paul Brown. It takes a village for this to go. This year we had 19,080 cars, so just shy of 20,000 cars, and we raised $55,959.64. That money is put back into the trail each year, whether we buy displays or replace bulbs, but the money is put back into the trail each year. And we also collected food. We don't know exactly how much we collected, but we collected a lot of food. We distributed it to two different entities. Brother Tim McMahon's Food Pantry was one, and the Food Pantry at First Christian Church here on the corner of Shelby and Kill was the other one. So we raised a lot of money. We got food for the needy, and we brought a lot of joy to faces out everywhere. So I think we accomplished what we set out to do. So thank you for all that helped.
Thank you. Civil Service Commission, Parks and Recreation Committee.
We did not meet in January due to no quorum. The meeting in February would be the 12th at 6 p.m. at the Bill Harmon Rec Center.
Personnel Committee.
We did not meet. We will be meeting on February the 1st at 5:30 at the Bill Harmon Rec Center. We do have something on the agenda.
Thank you. Planning Commission.
An ordinance rezoning all lots on the property located at.
We want him to come.
At this time, I was going to ask the Planning Commission Chair to come forward.
I'm sorry, I got it backwards.
That's okay.
No problem.
Apparently, our ordinance says that this will happen the first council meeting once a year, kind of give an update on the commission. So Rob is our new chairman for this year, so take your liberty.
One of the things that I wanted to do when I was taking on this position of the Planning Commission was to know what it was we were supposed to do. And about 3 days ago, I discovered that we're supposed to prepare an annual report and present it to you at the first meeting in January. That ain't gonna happen. I've been on board 6 months, and in that 6 months, I didn't know we were supposed to do that. But I thought, first thing I want to do is just go over a couple of the two issues that are going to be before you tonight. It seemed to me that it would be a good idea to be a little more interaction between the Planning Commission and the City Council. I know you can read your minutes, but if you have questions, you can't ask the minutes. So I thought I'd have at least a brief presentation about what the Planning Commission heard and what we considered. And the first one was 8403. That's the U.S. Pizza construction that's going on, and it was a request for a rezone that had been 3 lots originally in the Sylvan Hills edition. One of those lots was zoned residential, the other 2 were zoned commercial for C3. We checked the land use plan, and it called for strip commercial on that entire section of 107. So the request to rezone it all to C3 was consistent with the plan, so we approved it. There were a couple of comments from neighbors backing up to the property who were concerned about development right up to their backyard, but they're only going to develop, they intend only to develop the front half of that property. So we felt comfortable recommending that that be rezoned to you. The second one was at 816 East Keel. That's the location. There's several small churches inside a larger building and an insurance office. It's right next to the antique store. I think there's a daycare on the other side and that church across the street. What they wanted to do as a conditional use was for automobile repair. Not sure exactly what kind of repair, but there are 8 units in this building. And they want to use one of the units in the back for automotive repair. It has been used for that in the past. So we thought, okay, we will allow you to continue to do that, but we recommended two conditions on that. One was that there always be inside, no new construction, and second, that there be no parking or storing of cars behind the building. Those were the conditions that we recommend to you. And if I can bother you for a couple of minutes on what the Planning Commission has been doing and what I would like to see us do in the coming year. When I first came on board, like I said, one of the things I wanted to do is learn what it was I was supposed to do. So, of course, the first thing I did was get a copy of the zoning regulations. And as you well know, zoning regulations is the best known cure for insomnia. I had trouble reading some of that stuff, and I have been preparing them and doing them for many years. I prefer, quite frankly, to have a digital version so I can bookmark, earmark, mess with. The city didn't have one. I thought that was a little strange, so I called Metroplan, the organization that drafted it in the first place, and they didn't have one. So, I being an energetic lazy, I transposed that document, the one that's on your website right now, into a Word document so that I could edit it and I could go through it and I could find things. As I was doing that, it occurred to me that that thing has not been updated since 2004. It's now 2018. That's a long time, and I wasn't sure how many ordinances had been adopted in that interim that were not in the copy that we were reading and using. So as things worked out, Metroplan agreed to take all of the ordinances that had been adopted since this original document was prepared and check all of those ordinances against what's in the book right now. And they have just completed a first cut of that. I am reviewing it right now, and with a few more tweaks, hope to get it to the commission and to the city attorney to look over before we proceed further. My agenda on that, and I will add that I gave them the copy that I prepared, that I committed to Word document, which cut their time down a little bit. My agenda is that I want to make sure that we are all operating off of the same page, and that page is current, comprehensive, and accurate. We can make all kinds of changes in the future, however we want to, but until we know the baseline that we're operating from, we're just going to keep making mistakes. So that's where I was on the zoning. The next thing I looked at was and I thought I might mention, there's been 79 amendments to the zoning regulations since they were adopted in 1986. Now, over a 31-year period, that's not a huge amount. That's a little over 2 a year. 79 amendments. In my experience, things start to fall apart when that happens, that office, and it's time to look at it again. But I don't want to look at it again until we've had an opportunity to consider additional planning and had some more experience to look at it. I also looked at the zoning districts map, and it occurred to me, I think it was in the second meeting that I attended, that I was about ready to vote against the plat that was being proposed because it was for residential uses, and the zoning map in our office says it's commercial. Well, I didn't know that that had been rezoned to commercial or to residential because the map hadn't been updated that we were all using. And then I noticed that when that map was originally prepared, it was kind of, sort of, a lot of it based on property or basically zoning district boundaries lining up with property lines. Usually either in the center of a street, property line, creek, railroad, section line, something like that. Because of the advances in digital mapping, we now have more accurate property lines that are available online, and the current zoning map isn't actually lining up quite with those property lines. So it makes it difficult. You think you've got a property that's got two different zoning districts running through it when it really doesn't. But once again, Metroplan agreed to align the map as best they could to the property lines as they were existed, so we'd have a more accurate map. Been a few problems in doing that, but they're almost done with that. Once again, what I think we need to do is make sure that what we are working with is up to date, current, and accurate. Planning Commission's got a few decisions to make because there's some mismatches on the way boundaries are going. And we're going to have to think that one through. And finally, I really like to see that map updated more frequently than it has been. I want to see it updated the minute it happens practically. The minute a rezone or conditional use becomes effective, it should be on the city webpage because people depend on it. But by and large, let's face it, zoning's about property. And people get upset when they don't have accurate information about their property. And finally, one of the things that the Planning Commission is supposed to do, at least occasionally, once in a while, is planning. In fact, the charter of the original ordinance that created the commission had a rather long list of things that the Planning Commission was supposed to do in their area of planning. Most, I would say a lot of planning commissions around the state spend an awful lot of their time with bureaucracy. That's reviewing plats, reviewing rezones, conditional uses, that sort of thing. So they often don't get a lot of time to undertake planning, but they should. And I know our consulting planner is going to address you a little bit later this evening. He's made a presentation to the Planning Commission about a strategy to undertake some planning for Sherwood. Ever since I have been around here, I have heard over and over again, we need to update our plan. I mean, it has not been updated for years. Well, there was an update after the Gravel Ridge annexation, but that wasn't a real update. That wasn't comprehensive. We need more than that. I and the Planning Commission thoroughly endorse what James is going to tell you this evening. Hope you will too. If you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
An ordinance rezoning all lots on the property located at 8403 Highway 107 to C3, amending the zoning map and for other purposes.
Move for the adoption.
Second.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
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 Keplinger.
Aye.
McMahon.
Aye.
Lilly.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
An ordinance granting a conditional use for a portion of C3 zone property located at 816 East Kill Avenue and for other purposes.
Move for the adoption.
Second.
Can I ask a question real quick?
This would be the time.
I know you said this is something that's been done in the past, the automotive shop type thing. Do we not need to be a little more specific in the ordinance about stating that exact location of where that is? You know, what number or suite number or
It's Unit 8 in the order.
Look at section 3.
Unit 8? Yeah, I see where it says the condition is limited to Unit 8, right? Just wanted to be sure.
And my understanding is there's 8 units, 4 face Kill Avenue, and 4 are accessed from behind.
Right.
And this would be one that was accessed from behind. So it would be no visibility from Kill Avenue as far as open storage, even if there, I mean, it's not going to be permitted, but it still would alleviate, it appears to.
Well,
Those
not only
concerns.
that, there's no visibility from anything because having driven by there before, and going back to the back side of that is like woods. Or there's woods area or just a lot, empty lot. There's not any backyards of neighbors right up against it. A little bit of the daycare playground in the back, but that's it.
Are there any
Not
more?
all street visible.
Are there any more questions or concerns?
That's good.
You have a motion and a
Have a
second.
motion second.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
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 Keplinger.
Aye.
McMahon.
Aye.
Lilly.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye. Senior Citizen Committee, Sewer Committee, Street Committee.
The street committee did not meet. We did not have a quorum. I do plan to meet in February at our same time, same place.
Can I ask for a motion to table items 11, 12, and 13 to the February council meeting, please?
So move.
Second.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
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 Keplinger.
Aye.
I didn't hear you.
Aye.
McMahon.
Aye.
Lilly.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Brooks.
Aye.
A resolution declaring the intent of the city of Sherwood, Arkansas to make certain expenditures toward capital improvements or improvements to the city's street and drainage system and to reimburse itself from such expenditures from the proceeds of bonds or other obligation issued by the city to finance such capital improvements and prescribing all matters thereto.
Move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
Williams. Aye. Harmon.
Aye.
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 Keplinger.
Aye.
McMahon.
Aye.
Lilly.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Brooks. Aye.
Alderman Brooks, I see that Mr. Swanson has arrived.
He has.
John, you want to come up? This was the item that you discussed with us regarding the changes in service and level of service, if I recall correctly.
Yes, sir. This is a proposal that MIMS would like the council to consider to allow us to use BLS ambulances, adding that to the response that's already here with the 2 ALS units that are permanently assigned to Sherwood as a means to increase the coverage and improve response times in the community. This is also requires a change to the Arkansas EMS rules and regulations, which is expected to be approved on Thursday at the Board of Health meeting, and a project that has already been adopted by the city of Little Rock. And I just came from the North Little Rock City Council meeting where they approved it as well. And what that does is allow us to use additional ambulances, resources we already have, BLS, meaning opposed to ALS, Advanced Life Support, that means a paramedic and an EMT are staffing that ambulance. A BLS crew means 2 EMTs. And at MIMS, we assign one of them as, or designate one as the lead EMT. That person requires at least a year's experience, additional training, and to be signed off by our medical director on a case-by-case basis. The way the process works is that within our dispatch center, as 911 calls are made, every call is assumed to be an ALS call unless the information we receive gives us the assurance that a BLS crew would be an appropriate resource to use on that call. We've done over 2,000 BLS runs in Little Rock during the trial with absolutely no problems, and prepared to, with your permission, to expand that resource to provide additional coverage. Sherwood.
Could you give us an example of what would be information on a call that would?
A fall would be an example. And the way the process works, let me add, we just in November received international accreditation in our dispatch center, validating that we do this process correctly. The calls are stratified from the alpha or alpha at the lowest level through echo at the highest. And when a call comes in, for example, a fall, if the fall is greater than 10 feet, automatically ALS. And so forth. So if the caller gives us information that would say that the person who has suffered the call or fall is alert, oriented, breathing normally, and is, shows no signs of a major injury, then that would be an appropriate call for ALS. Otherwise, ALS is going to get. And also, should a BLS crew not be in the immediate vicinity, to avoid delay, we'll still send the ALS unit anyway.
Gotcha. Thank you.
More discussion?
I'd move for the adoption of the
You
resolution.
haven't read it
I
yet.
got to read it.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Tim. In advance. A resolution to authorize Metropolitan Emergency Medical Services to provide basic life support services for non-threatening emergencies in Sherwood and for other purposes.
Now I'll move for the adoption of the resolution.
Aye. Harmon.
Aye.
Aye. Keplinger.
Aye.
McMahon.
Aye.
Lilly.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Brooks. Aye.
A resolution expressing the willingness of the city of Sherwood, Arkansas to utilize federal aid transportation alternatives program funds, authorizing the mayor to execute all agreements necessary and for other purposes.
That's provided if we receive these monies, we'll move forward with it.
Move for the adoption.
Second.
Williams.
Aye.
Harmon.
Aye.
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 Keplinger.
Aye.
McMahon.
Aye.
Lilly.
Aye.
Sanders.
Aye.
Brooks. Aye.
Mayor, that is the agenda.
The next item on the agenda is State of the City. I offered to pass out copies, but Alderman Brooks wanted me to read it.
Well, I just felt like everybody might want to hear it.
It's okay. I can do
All these
that.
people on TV, they're watching this tonight. You read fast
I
anyway.
will try to slow it down just enough. Or perhaps, Tim, you're ready to get out of here. Would you like to read? The year 2017 was another busy year for our city. Our employees and volunteers worked hard throughout the year and were busy providing services to our residents. For the fifth consecutive year, 100% of adoptable pets were placed with new families through our Animal Services Department. The department participated with numerous community outreach programs and services to promote the safety and advancement of the Animal Services Department. The Barn Cat Program, Low-Income Family Assistance for Spay and Neuter, and the annual Pet Fair and Fundraiser were just a few of the community events and programs provided by the department. Our seniors continue to enjoy the many activities sponsored by the center, which provides fellowship opportunities as well as health awareness. Baptist Wellness provides health checks, including flu shots and cholesterol testing. We continue to provide transportation to both doctor visits and to the grocery store. Our seniors are an active group. They participate in bingo, bunco, beanbag baseball, and aerobics, to name just a few. The Computer Services Department continue to develop, maintain, and enhance many in-house written applications. Some of the accomplishments of 2017 include a complete redesign and upgrade of the city's website and the development of a mobile app. Some of the features in this redesign of the website include a responsive design which makes it more compatible with the many different devices used on the internet today. The redesign also made our website more accessible to citizens with disabilities by making it compliant with ADA standards. Currently, the police department has 14 sworn officer positions open and one opening in the dispatch detention branch. This includes 5 new positions that were approved in 2017, along with the 4 positions that we received a grant to pay their salaries. 4 new officers start the academy this month. Several certified officers have applied. We are seeing great results from accepting certified applicants. A grant was received to assist in cost of bullet-resistant vests, traffic enforcement, and DWI enforcement. Every patrol officer is equipped with video equipment and body cameras. Residents receive outstanding patrol service and follow-up investigative response. The city crime rate shows a decrease this year. There were 982 thefts reported, with shoplifting accounting for 237 of the theft calls and 23 robberies reported. There were 2 homicides this year, with both of the cases solved. The radar trailers continue to be utilized on streets where we have received complaints of speeding. The RMS system is proving to be a great asset for daily operations with information accessible. Once again, the Human Resources Office sponsored an employee health and benefits fair with 135 employees attending and 22 vendors participating. Free flu shots were offered to employees, and many received their shots during the event. The fair was extremely successful, and the HR office has positive feedback from employees about the wide range of vendors. During the open enrollment in 2017, a new AFLAC representative attended, and a number of employees enrolled in these products offered. Supervisor training classes will be conducted in February by an employment law attorney. The annual Easter egg hunt, Fools of the Month, Splash Bash at the Youth Center, Stories in the Park, Movies in the Park, 4th of July Family Celebration, Youth Sports Leagues and Tournaments, Grilling Chillin' at the Youth Center, Sherwood Fest, Halloween Carnival, and Haunted House were some of the events provided by our Parks and Recreation. The new pavilion at the Forest that seats up to 175 was home to the revitalized Sherwood Farmers Market. The Permits and Planning Department continues to see a substantial increase in building permits. There were 865 residential new housing permits issued in 2017, up from 2016, as well as other building permits issued for remodels, fences, storage, etc. The overall value of construction permits also increased from approximately $45,798,000 in 2016 to over $77 million in 2017. The planning and permit staff reviewed 90 cases. There were 14 preliminary plat requests, 4 final plat requests, 15 zoning requests, and 16 site plan reviews that required a review and recommendations for Planning Commission action. In addition, there were 31 commercial permit requests that required staff plan review. The Sherwood wastewater utility treated over 300 million gallons of wastewater. As part of the capacity management, operations, and maintenance program, over 18,000 linear feet of sewer main has been hydro-cleaned. Improvements began on the Rockins Road Pump Station, and the construction will be completed in early 2018. Code enforcement has had a busy but productive year with 1,821 initial premise inspections and over 2,300 re-inspections in 2017. The officers issued 210 citations, which resulted in 16 trials and 243 court reports. 28 structures were declared unsafe in 2017, and as a result of these actions, 13 were repaired by the owners, 7 were demolished by the owners, and 5 are under court jurisdiction. The city has had 60 properties cut and cleaned by contractors. The cost to the city for this service was over $9,000, and the city has currently been reimbursed more than $4,600. The Public Works Department stays extremely busy keeping our streets as safe as possible during weather events as well as any other emergency situations, and are often contacted by our police department to assist in emergency situations. The Public Works Department continues to repair street repairs, clean and mow drainage areas, exercise mosquito control, collect household garbage, street sweeper, as well as run extra pickup routes. The department also removes large volumes of litter from the streets throughout the year. The street budget was also able to fund our overlay program with resurfacing contracts, allowing for more than 7 miles of city streets to be resurfaced. The leaf collection operates from November 1st through January 31st each year. This is a labor-intensive operation that allows our residents leaf collections in volume. The city ended the financial year in the positive. Our city clerk treasurer's department is responsible for handling all financial records, including the receipt and disbursement of our funds. Our 2017 general fund budget included $600,000 from reserves. The year ended with 0 funds spent from the $600,000 reserves that had been budgeted. Our employees and leaders worked hard to work within the financial projections in all budgeting areas. Our city sales tax maintained and exceeded projections. The city of Sherwood made the list of the safest cities in Arkansas in 2017. Our schools are increasing in population at an accelerated rate. A bond issue extended by the voters of the Pulaski County Special School District was passed that will allow more than $60 million of much-needed improvements and expansion to our Seven Hills High School campus. New business opened in 2017 and more on the horizon for 2018. Our Chamber of Commerce continues to strengthen and partner with our city to promote and expand business. Our future is bright in Sherwood. A lot of good things happened in 2017, and I think there'll be even more in 2018, but we are well on our way. And then last month, we introduced our new economic developer. Tonight, I would like to introduce our new city engineer, Richard Penn. He's in the audience with us. Would you like to say a few words to the council? You're welcome to.
I am Richard Penn, your new city engineer, Mayor Young, members of the council, and those of you in the audience and whomever may be watching electronically. I am very happy to be here. This is a return to municipal employment for me. I've been involved in it 2 other cities for about 11 and a half years, and the past 4.5 years been in consulting, developing a municipal engineering department for a consulting company. So I've been involved with this for many years. Very happy to be employed here. Look forward to being able to succeed and to help you succeed with the things that have been mentioned tonight by Mr. Middleton and many of the things that I've heard you mention at other times, Mayor Young. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you. And I will add, he has hit the ground running. He has not been lacking for things to do. The next item on the agenda is any old business. Under new business, at this time, I would like to ask James Walden, consultant planning from Garber Engineering, to come forward.
Generally, I would like to introduce myself because I think for a lot of y'all, this is the first time to see me. A little bit about me. Obviously, my name is James Walden. I got my start in planning working in a couple of cities in Northwest Arkansas. Me and my wife decided we wanted to come back home to Central Arkansas. And I started working about 11 years ago with Jim Von Tunglin, and I've worked both with Richard and Rob various times throughout. Was with Jim Von Tunglin at Urban Planning Associates for 4 years, and then after 4 years decided he was sort of looking to get out of things, and so I purchased the firm from him. Operated that till 2015, and then now since 2015 I've been working with Harvard on an ongoing basis. And so that's kind of my background in terms of working on things. Rob has already done a really good job in terms of establishing the need. I'll say one thing that establishing the need to kind of look at the codes, look at the plans and update them. One of the things that really stood out to me was actually one of the cases that was on the docket tonight. It was the conditional use. In the original application, the applicant had filed that the property was currently zoned C1, and then the zoning map said that it was C2, and then we were able to find an ordinance that actually indicated that the property was zone C3. So we had, this kind of illustrates the degree of, when you don't have the proper information to operate from, the degree of confusion that you have, because we thought at first we were going to be dealing with the rezoning, and there was a dispute over what the zoning was, and then we found out, well, it's really just a matter of a conditional use permit. So it's really, really very important to have good, updated plans and codes to operate. And so in terms of looking at this, we'll be doing this project within the existing resources of the contract that I'm working with, and utilizing Petraplan as sort of a technical resource to assist in doing these. That's very critical. The first thing is really going to be updating the land use plan and the master street plan. And I wouldn't call this a comprehensive plan. I would call it more of a general plan or a vision plan, just simply because of the scope of it. But I want to get away from the idea of us just having a land use plan, master street plan, thinking about this in sort of a more strategic way about what Sherwood really wants to be in the future, thinking about it more than just those physical plans. The second item we really would be working on is addressing the land use codes and updating, getting them up to sort of a 21st century type of code, where they're relevant to the way things are operating. So in terms of looking at the sort of the update with the land use and master street plan, the first thing is setting up the redoing the planning area boundary. That's one thing that hadn't really changed since 2015 legislation reduced the planning jurisdiction. So we've done that. That's something that has already been completed in terms of doing that. With this, we want to operate this through a steering committee. A steering committee would be sort of established to operate from the planning commission, city council members, and one of the reasons I particularly like to do that in my experience as a consultant is it's good to get a mix of different voices. It's good to get a mix of different constituent groups that you're working with, so that if you're operating on a plan with the planning commission, you're not getting too far out in advance of where the city council is, or you're not getting too far out in advance of where the planning commission is. So sort of understanding those, and then also bringing in a lot of the fresh ideas from the community. That I think is very essential, very critical, very important. So we would establish a steering committee, and then we would move into a phase of conducting community engagement. One of the first things we would do is a community-wide charrette. Charrette's just really a fancy term for a workshop. The idea behind this is that we would sort of set up a large space, try to invite as many people as possible. We've been really effective in doing this at different times, getting 100, 150 people out to do these. It's one of those things that is amazing and a lot of fun. But basically, it would involve me getting up there and speaking, kind of priming the well for all of the folks. Folks would be broken out into teams around tables, about 8 to 10 folks per table. And they'd really be set forth to establish their vision, identify issues within the community. So we would take that input, they would sort of establish those things, report it back out. We would take that input, it would kind of give us an idea, okay, this is what the community sees the issues are that we need to address. Start getting an idea of maybe this is how we might lay out a vision. This is how we would, these are the laundry list of things that we need to address. Additionally, we would sort of create a public input website, use these, and when you have something that can drive traffic to them, they're very effective. But the website would be sherwood.planyourcity.com. It would allow us to create sort of a map where individuals could put a point on the map, say this is a great asset within the community, don't mess it up, or this is something that needs a little love. If we had some sort of intervention or change something here, that this could be something that's really great. Or there's things like, for example, something that if the city doesn't address, or the community as a whole doesn't address this particular issue in this particular location, it's going to be something that is really a significantly impede the sort of the future of the community. So having an opportunity to kind of allow that 24/7 type of input, but also allow us to get very specific input based on very specific geography. It's a pretty powerful tool. We'd also look at stakeholder groups and individual interviews. So some ideas of different stakeholder groups that we could talk to: residents, business leaders, recreation advocates, underrepresented groups, development professionals, understanding those. One of the ones that I think would be particularly important would be students. That's something that I first got exposed to this in working on a project in Bentonville, and we were doing a community workshop. And it was really interesting. The most salient point of the night, the best point of the night, was made by a 10-year-old child talking about the fact that North Walton Boulevard was this huge barrier for him to be able to go to his friend's house. And it's sort of thinking about the way that that kid experiences their community is very different. But it's very important that we understand how kids perceive our community, because they're going to be the ones that inherit Sherwood in the future. So that's very critical. So one of the neat things that we can do is partner with PCCSD to actually develop a sort of a mini type of charrette or small curriculum type of thing, where they actually conduct some public engagement within the classroom, sort of in a curriculum-based environment, and get that information back. So it's something we would prepare and get that, and it's really, really neat. But I think it's one thing that a lot of times we just don't think about in terms of a group to engage. I think that's very. And the children they want to have a voice in the future. So we'd have the stakeholder groups. Additionally, we could identify key individuals to talk to. A lot of times with the key individuals, it might be individuals that possess sort of a unique set of knowledge or things like that. That's important. That either they could really help make something happen or really keep something from happening. That oftentimes those are the kinds of individuals that we would talk to. So we'd really gather all of that input. I mean, this is intended to very, very much be a community engagement-driven process. That, I think, is critical more than anything. In my exposure to looking at everything sort of in terms of all of the planning documents, that's one of the things that's really, really lacking in terms of all of that, is that it doesn't seem like a whole lot of the sort of the long range plans for the community are very community. So I think that's something that's. So we take we would take that information, sort of establish a vision and goals that would be kind of a concise framework that lays out what we want the community to be in 20, 30 years, and that would give us a framework for then moving forward further on. So it would intend to be this very concise idea, sort of the idea of what Sherwood would be. Then we would make updates to the land use plan, make updates to the master street plan. With the land use plan, it would first be some general updates. There's things with mapping as it stands. The mapping itself needs to be corrected, needs to be fixed. And then also determine some areas where we want to do additional study. So look at particular areas, and I think a lot of that additionally will be identified through the community engagement. So some corridors, areas that we could look at: Highway 107, Brocking, Hill, because I think within large areas of the community, there's not going to be a great deal of change. There's a lot of single-family neighborhoods that I think, from a community perspective, they don't really want it to change, and I'm not sure that there would be a lot of opportunities to really do things. But there are areas that are undeveloped that we want to have some say in envisioning those things. There are areas that, you know, if the city, the community got another shot at developing them, the redevelopment, that maybe we would do things a little bit differently. And there's other areas where maybe we want to create some sort of signature entry into the community, something that says this is Sherwood, that establishes some sort of identity. So that might be some of the things that we look at in terms of those ideas of sub areas. With the master street plan, One of the things we really want to look at is the street cross sections. I think as it stands now, the street cross sections don't really very well align with sort of regional standards. So bringing those closer into conformance with what the regional standards are, but also expanding to give sort of a greater palette of options for development so that we have different things that we do with that. And so that's something we would definitely very, very closely work with MetroPlan. As we might additionally look at bike ped elements, incorporating those. That will kind of tease out as we go through the process. And that would, going through that whole set of process, although the sort of the main thing would be establishing that vision document, that visioning goals, that would probably be our first 6 months, the thing that we really establish out of that. And then the other things would sort of trail on and follow as we're able to do them. So we would have that would sort of give us this overall vision. The second thing is addressing the zoning code and the subdivision. It's very critical that we do the plan updates first because of changes in state law, because of the way that the Supreme Court has sort of mandated things go with planning. It's very critical that we establish that vision first and then establish sort of our code to help. So after we go through that whole process, then we'll really take a good look at land use codes, the subdivision code, the zoning code, perhaps consider sort of a unified development code or something along those lines, help implement all of the ideas. Now, there will be things as we go through the process that will need to be addressed in those codes that will kind of be ongoing maintenance. One of the things that the Planning Commission is currently working on is an update to the land unit development regulations. The current plan commercial development, plan residential development regulations that exist pretty out of date, and need to be revised. So that's kind of in a nutshell the idea. So that's kind of the update I wanted to give you.
Very good information. Appreciate that. Are there any questions or comments?
I'm excited.
Appreciate the time. Thank you very much. And before we move from new business, is there any more new business anyone has to bring forward? Would like to, it had been brought to the attention of the Municipal League on the Executive Committee, and then it was discussed in detail at our conference in Fort Smith a couple weeks ago, that the Arkansas Municipal League has entered or engaged into an opioid litigation pursuit. Are you familiar with that? Okay. And they had asked that cities go ahead and there's no commitment. I mean, there's no financial or anything, but had asked that they would like all cities in Arkansas to embrace that. So several of us did that day at the executive meeting, and then several more did at the Municipal League, and there's more to come. So there's a little bit more information here. I have this, and as you said, you will learn more about it on Friday. So, but it's something that Arkansas is kind of taking a forefront on this litigation. So that should be interesting to see where that takes us. Announcements. Sherwood Animal Shelter events. February is National Prevent a Litter Month. Free adoptions on February 6th, 13th, 20th, 27th, and 28th. It says adopt your sweetheart a Valentine's Day for free. I would suggest make sure that's what your sweetheart wants. It could be a sweet deal. I'll make sure everybody's in agreement on that one. Are there any more announcements?
Move we adjourn.